Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be discussing the post-apocalyptic science fantasy film Reign of Fire. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. Quinn, a young boy, walks towards a construction site and rides the elevator down to meet his mother, Karen. A worker notifies Karen about an issue, causing her to leave Quinn behind to deal with it. While looking into an empty space, Quinn confronts a worker. The worker manipulates Quinn, urging him to explore a cavern and giving him a torch. Filled with excitement, Quinn ventures further into the cavern and curiously reaches out to touch one of the walls. Unexpectedly, a dragon emerges and attacks him, causing the terrified boy to flee for his life. Fortunately, Quinn eventually reunites with his mother. The commotion catches the attention of one of the workers, who hears a rumbling sound. In a sudden turn of events, the cavern erupts into flames. Karen, alarmed by the fiery explosion, hastily enters the elevator and activates it. As flames surround them, a menacing dragon appears, locking eyes with the horrified mother and son before launching itself upward towards the surface. Quivering in fear, Quinn sadly discovers his mother's lifeless body. Years pass, and the world now lies in ruins, dominated by dragons. Now an adult, Quinn toils in an English mine. A man appears, delivering news of Eddie's descent into madness. Determined, Quinn storms out to confront Eddie. Eddie, accompanied by a small group, plans to abandon the community, taking premature crops with them. Recognizing the impending disaster for the whole community, Quinn vehemently opposes Eddie's actions. However, Eddie believes their survival until the next season is unlikely. Quinn seizes the truck keys and walks away. In a separate location, a man approaches Eddie, who is resting on a bed, and they gather additional men before leaving the shelter. Eddie and his crew head towards the plantation to gather the crops. From a watchtower, the men observe through a telescope as Eddie and his group plunder their harvested goods. The observer sends a distress signal to alert Quinn back at the shelter. Eddie's crew, occupied with their plundering, notices a distant threat but remains silent. They hurriedly seek assistance before a dragon swoops down, attacking one of the crew members and setting the plantation ablaze with its fiery breath. Eddie swiftly gathers his crew and seeks refuge behind the vegetation, but they soon realize they are trapped by the encroaching flames. Suddenly, a figure in protective gear emerges from the fire. Their hero comes to their rescue. However, the dragon intercepts them and unleashes a devastating inferno. The vehicle ahead of them is engulfed in the intense flames. Quinn, Eddie, and their crew quickly reverse and speed away in the opposite direction. Back at the convent, Quinn and Creed engage in a conversation where Quinn expresses sympathy for Eddie's loss of his son, who had previously fallen victim to the dragon's attack. Creed believes he deserves the suffering, but Quinn ponders whether Creed might have been right all along. The watchtower lookout spots two heavily armored vehicles approaching, prompting an alert to be relayed back to the base. Quinn swiftly gathers his men, including Creed, despite the limited resources, to prepare for the impending confrontation. They hurriedly assume their battle positions just as the armored vehicles arrive. They deduce that they are the American marauders. The tanks halt at the shelter's entrance, and a man emerges from one of the tanks, demanding to meet with the person in charge. The man confidently descends and extends his hand in a dominant gesture. Quinn calmly walks towards the front gate as the man introduces himself as Van Zandt from Kentucky. Van Zandt claims to be part of the National Guard and explains that his army has suffered heavy losses and needs a place to recover. Quinn remains skeptical and dismisses Van Zandt's story. He refuses to grant them entry, but Van Zandt uses a dragon tooth to threaten him. Van Zandt proceeds to share his first-hand encounter with a dragon, proudly displaying the tooth as his prize. After hearing his account, Quinn reluctantly allows them inside but not without issuing a warning. Quinn and Creed catch up with Van Zandt, where they are introduced to Alexandra Jensen, a pilot from the U.S. Cavalry. Quinn notices the men behind her and introduces them as the Archangels, who serve as bait for dragons. After the American leaves, Quinn instructs Creed to stay vigilant and not let their guard down. A dragon is spotted from the watchtower, causing both groups of men to prepare themselves. The Americans leave calmly, while Quinn keeps a close eye on them. Meanwhile, the Archangels coordinate amongst themselves but are surprised by the sudden appearance of the dragon. They quickly increase the speed of their helicopter, evading the pursuer. Back at the base, Quinn observes the unfolding situation and asks AJ for an update. AJ informs him that the Americans' 3D mapping device is not fully operational, leaving Alex without proper visibility. Recognizing the danger faced by the woman, Quinn mounts a horse and rushes to assist. He discovers that one of the Americans has crashed and swiftly locates and activates the necessary device. Alex and the crew regain visibility, only to witness an approaching dragon heading straight for their helicopter. Alex instructs an Archangel to take action. The hungry dragon redirects its attention to the potential victim, but the Archangels briefly manage to trap it before it breaks free. Tragically, one Archangel falls to their death, and another is eaten quickly by the dragon. Van Zandt calls upon Quinn to act as bait, and Quinn accepts the role. Van Zandt emerges from his vehicle, preparing the harpoon gun, while Quinn rides toward him. Upon spotting Quinn, Van Zandt promptly fires the harpoon, grazing Quinn but successfully impaling the dragon. The dragon is swiftly defeated. The group rejoices in their victory of slaying a dragon, with cheers echoing throughout the castle as Quinn enters, followed by the Americans. However, Van Zandt scolds them for being overly optimistic, reminding them that 3 of his men paid the ultimate price for this victory. He expresses his disgust towards them, his eyes filled with tears, and leaves. Back at the base, Alex informs Quinn that the slain dragon was a female. She speculates that by eliminating the male dragon, they could potentially wipe out the entire species. Van Zandt informs Quinn that they are heading to London to kill the male dragon, demanding Quinn and his men to join them. However, Quinn refuses, concerned that assisting Van Zandt would lead the dragons back to their refuge. Quinn's refusal causes Van Zandt to storm off. Alex questions Quinn about his reluctance to go to London, and he reveals that it holds painful memories of his mother's death. Meanwhile, Van Zandt gathers his men outside and motivates them for their mission. Quinn abruptly confronts Van Zandt, throwing a punch at him. They engage in a fierce jiu-jitsu fight, with Van Zandt overpowering Quinn and leaving him severely beaten. Van Zandt triumphantly asserts his dominance before leading his army towards London. Quinn, defeated and despondent, receives comfort from Alex before departs. Inside the castle, Quinn tends to his wounds. Jared is seen leaving, but Quinn tries to stop him. Unmoved, Jared insists he is not Quinn's father, and Quinn reluctantly lets him go. The army departs from the shelter, making their way to London. As darkness falls and the wind intensifies, Quinn senses something amiss and orders the army to halt, carefully observing the surroundings for any signs of danger. Quinn commands Alex to find an escape route. He steps out of his vehicle and becomes aware of the presence of a nearby dragon. An explosion occurs in the distance, prompting him to order his men to prepare for the imminent danger. They ready their weapons to defend against the approaching dragon. Despite the thick smog, the dragon emerges into view. Van Zandt shouts as he relentlessly fires his gun at the dragon, taking cover behind his vehicle to shield himself from the flames. The army engages in a firefight with the dragon, but they are swiftly overwhelmed and destroyed. Alex returns to find Van Zandt as the sole survivor. Van Zandt confirms that it was the male dragon that attacked them. Realizing that the dragon is now headed towards the castle, they hurry back. As the dragon slowly approaches the castle, it unleashes destructive flames, causing devastation. Quinn, noticing the flames from a distance, swiftly rides back on his horse. Inside the castle, Creed is diligently evacuating everyone to a place of safety. Quinn arrives to find the castle engulfed in flames after the dragon has flown away. Seizing the opportunity, Quinn enters the castle and reunites with Creed carrying a young girl. Creed informs Quinn that there are still others inside. Determined, Quinn ventures deeper into the castle. He locates Katie and Williams and escorts them to safety underground. However, Quinn is not satisfied and wants to go back to rescue the remaining survivors. Creed intervenes, offering to go in his place. Suddenly, the dragon returns and perches on the castle, inhaling deeply before exhaling a scorching breath of fire into the structure. Creed is consumed by the flames, and Quinn attempts to save him but arrives too late. Left with the task of comforting the frightened children, Quinn leads them in reciting their oath together. Quinn's attention is drawn to a voice coming from behind a door, revealing the return of the Americans. Stepping outside, Quinn is confronted with the ruins of the once majestic castle. After a brief moment, the trio of Quinn, Van Zandt, and Alex begin making preparations for their mission to hunt down the male dragon. They devise a plan to strike during the magic hour, the dragon's weakest moment. Boarding a helicopter, they soar along the cliffs and eventually land on a platform. Taking cover behind the stairs, they cautiously observe an abandoned town teeming with dragons. Quinn, being familiar with the city, proposes a stealthy approach to infiltrate the area. Suddenly, the male dragon unleashes a powerful roar, sending the lesser dragons into a frenzy. With the other dragons scattered, the tables have turned, giving the trio a numerical advantage of 3-1 against the male dragon. Van Zandt appoints Quinn as the leader and they begin their descent into the tunnels, aiming to reach the construction site. Prior to proceeding, Van Zandt requests highly explosive arrowheads from Alex. Van Zandt then outlines their plan. They will deliver the lethal blow using a crossbow, timing it precisely as the dragon prepares to breathe fire, exposing its vulnerable chest. Upon emerging to the surface, they seek shelter and discuss their strategies. With their plan in place, they stand prepared to confront their formidable adversary. Finally, the male dragon makes its appearance. The plan is set into motion, and both Quinn and Van Zandt spring into action. As Quinn sprints, the dragon swoops down, targeting him. However, he skillfully evades the attack. Taking cover, he searches for his arrows, only to realize that he dropped them during his evasion. Meanwhile, Van Zandt reaches his designated position and signals Alex to make her way towards the base of the chimney. The dragon redirects its attention to Alex and pursues her, but soon shifts its focus back to Van Zandt. Swearing at the dragon, Van Zandt takes aim, waiting for the perfect moment. As the dragon opens its mouth, he releases the arrow with precision. The arrow explodes upon impact, momentarily stunning the dragon. Out of ammunition, Van Zan switches to his battle axe and launches himself from the chimney towards the dragon. However, the dragon swiftly devours Van Zan. As the dragon unleashes a fiery blast, Quinn and Alex flee, narrowly escaping the flames. They regroup behind a building for cover. Alex spots the arrow near a truck and alerts Quinn. Quinn takes a quick glance before sprinting towards the truck, reaching it and retrieving the arrow. With haste, he attempts to load the crossbow. Meanwhile, the dragon sets its sights on Quinn. Witnessing Quinn's struggle, Alex bravely distracts the dragon, buying him some precious time. She successfully diverts the dragon's attention away from Quinn. Seizing the opportunity, Quinn swiftly loads the crossbow and draws the beast's focus back onto himself. Just as the creature opens its menacing jaws, Quinn releases the arrow. The dragon erupts in a powerful explosion, reducing it to charred remains. Both Quinn and Alex rise to their feet, witnessing the dragon's charred corpse. In the following scene, Quinn is seen working on a communications tower, indicating the restoration of vital infrastructure. Alex ponders whether this newfound peace will endure. Though uncertain, Quinn reassures her, urging her not to worry. The two share a joyful laugh before walking away, hand in hand, their future filled with hope. Thank you for watching our recap. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and feel free to explore our other recaps.